Chapter 74. Rimuru's Pav. Since I had promised Seal, I sent a thought communication to Ren. Ren, Seal and I decided to enjoy the festival along with the kids. If your talk with Cat has ended, send her here. Her calm voice came back almost instantly. Yes, my lady, Cat and I will be there in a moment. While waiting for them, Seal and I prepared ourselves for the outing. I decided to wear a deep red kimono adorned with soft floral patterns, the design flowing like petals caught in a gentle breeze. Around my waist was a golden yellow obi, neatly tied and glowing faintly under the morning light. I also changed my appearance to Celine since I don't want anyone bothering me. Beside me, Seal chose a kimono similar in style but in shades of cool blue, decorated with elegant silver blossoms that shimmered subtly with her movements. The contrast between our outfits, warm red and tranquil blue, felt almost poetic. Matching, yet opposite, I murmured with a small smile. Seal turned toward me, her mask concealing her expression, but I could feel her faint amusement through our link. It suits us, master. Opposites that complete each other, Seal said, extending her hand toward me. I chuckled softly, taking it with a fond smile. I couldn't have said it better myself. Hand in hand, we began walking toward the entrance. As we moved, I reached out through thought communication. Shinsha, Shizu, get ready. We're heading out for the festival. Shinsha's cheerful voice immediately chimed back. Really? Yay, I'm coming. Shizu's tone was calmer, but I could sense the excitement hidden behind her usual composure. Understood, mother. I smiled to myself, picturing the two of them hurrying about in their own ways. As Seal and I reached the entrance of our home, Shinsha came running toward me, her laughter bright and infectious. Mummy, I'm ready to go. She giggled, leaping into my arms. I caught her effortlessly, her light weight settling against me as naturally as breathing. I brushed a kiss against her forehead, smiling softly. Take it easy, my little star. The festival won't run away without us. As I carried Shinsha in my arms, Shizu appeared a moment later, walking with her usual slow and graceful poise. A soft smile touched her lips as she came to Ciel's side and quietly slipped her hand into hers. Her cheeks tinged faintly red as she murmured, almost under her breath, we don't want anyone getting lost, after all. Ciel glanced down at her, a faint warmth flickering behind her expressionless mask, but said nothing, only tightened her hold slightly in silent acknowledgement. Where's Cat? Shizu asked quickly, her voice betraying a hint of urgency as she tried to steer attention away from her own embarrassment. I was about to answer when someone approached, Ren. For a moment, I froze. Instead of the crisp black and white maid uniform I'd always known, she wore a deep violet kimono adorned with delicate floral patterns. Her usual red ribbon was replaced by a single elegant flower. Even more astonishing, she carried Cat in her arms, and for just a fleeting moment, the corners of her lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. I'd never seen her in anything other than her maid uniform, and smiles from Ren were rarer than a glimpse of the moon at noon. This quiet, graceful image, Ren in a kimono, smiling just a little, was something wholly unexpected. As Ren reached us, she gently set Cat down, and I did the same with Shinsha. Shinsha and Shizu immediately moved toward Cat. Mew, you betrayed me and ran away. I hate you, Cat pouted, spinning around dramatically. Shizu and Shinsha froze, stunned by their little sister's harsh words. Honestly, they kind of deserved it. I decided to let Cat vent her frustration for a moment before stepping in to help smooth things over. Then my attention shifted, and the question I'd been holding back slipped out. Ren, why are you wearing that? I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. I'm not saying you shouldn't, it's just surprising to see you out of your maid uniform. Ren regarded me with a soft sigh. Rather than complimenting my appearance, you ask why I am dressed this way. She said, pouting faintly. We are attending the festival, after all, and Cat requested that I wear this. I inclined my head slightly. Forgive me, you look truly beautiful, Ren. Her lips curved into a small, satisfied smile. Well, I suppose she couldn't refuse Cat's request. Still, it was surprising that she agreed so willingly. Ren clearly enjoyed her role as a maid, but it seemed she cared for Cat even more than maintaining perfect composure. I glanced at Cat, now receiving gentle head pats from both Shizu and Shinsha. A small smile tugged at my lips, those sisters were undeniably adorable. Cat, who had been angry at them just moments ago, now wore a satisfied smile, clearly enjoying the attention. It was remarkably easy to win her over with nothing more than a few head pats. I brought a hand gracefully to my mouth, letting out a soft, elegant giggle as I watched both big sisters doing their utmost to please Kat. It was both amusing and heartwarming. Seeing them fuss over her so earnestly reminded me just how precious these moments were, and how easily affection could melt even the sharpest of tempers. Moments later, their head pats and cuddles finally did their work, and Kat said softly, "Okay, I forgive you. And I really love you." Hearing that, Shinsha's face lit up with a bright smile as she hugged Kat tightly. Shizu's lips curved into a gentle, approving smile as well. Finally, as the siblings' banter settled, I cleared my throat. Ahem, I believe it's time we head to the festival, it's already starting. At once, Shinsha dashed forward, grabbing my hand eagerly. Shizu followed at a calmer pace, taking her place beside Seal and gently holding her hand. Kat, whom I had assumed would take my other hand, instead walked toward Ren. She took Ren's hand and beamed, "Let's go, Mama." Ren accepted her hand, her rare, warm smile gracing her face. "Yes, my daughter." And just like that, rimuru.x completely stopped working. It took a few hours for rimuru.x to reboot and resume normal function, thanks to thought acceleration that translated to less than a second in the outside world. Once my mental processes were stable again, I decided to calmly reassess the situation. I could practically hear Shizu sigh somewhere nearby, muttering under her breath, "Well, the cat's out of the bag." Did she actually say, "cat," or am I just imagining things? I really need to calm down first. Speaking of calm, Shinsha beside me didn't seem affected by the sudden revelation in the slightest. She was smiling cheerfully, humming to herself. "Festival with Mummy, it'll be so much fun." Meanwhile, Seal, who I had hoped would share in my confusion, appeared only mildly surprised. Actually, now that I think about it, she probably already knew. Meaning, I was the only one who didn't. I took a deep breath, steadying my nerves before turning my gaze toward the source of this entire ordeal. Kat stood there, smiling up at me with a mischievous glint in her eyes, while her supposed accomplice, Ren, wore a composed yet unmistakably satisfied smile. Truly, the resemblance was uncanny. The same serene confidence, the same troublesome charm. I exhaled softly, suppressing a sigh. They really did look like mother and daughter. And their matching smirks were equally infuriating. "Era, you seem to be enjoying yourself a little too much," I said in my most elegant tone, my lips curved in a refined smile, though my eyes made it clear I wasn't amused. Kat froze instantly, panic flashing across her face before she darted behind Ren for cover. Ren gave a polite little cough, regaining her composure before speaking. "My lady, if I may, it is your fault for not realizing it sooner." I sighed softly, the realization sinking in as I recalled Kat's earlier words, about how her mama always complained that I ran away from paperwork and lacked proper ladylike manners. The kind of things Ren never failed to lecture me about. The answer had been right in front of me all this time, and yet, I hadn't realized it. Or perhaps, I simply chose to ignore it. I mean, I've always liked Ren, but the idea of marrying her, that had seemed impossible, and yet, here we are. It seems I did end up with Ren after all. Ren, aren't you embarrassed?" I asked, cheeks flushing lightly. I mean, we were good friends, and suddenly realizing I would end up marrying her felt a little awkward. I didn't think I could marry her without falling in love first. And yet, here we were. To my surprise, Ren tilted her head slightly, a faint look of confusion crossing her composed features. Embarrassed? Why would I be? I was a little surprised, yes, but given the way things were going, I rather expected we would end up together sooner or later. Or at the very least, become your lover. She said it so matter-of-factly that I almost choked on my own thoughts. I was utterly confused. I had married her in the future. And now, in this moment, I didn't know how I was supposed to act toward her. Did I truly love her? I wasn't sure. The thought of how to proceed tangled in my mind, leaving me restless and uncertain. As I fretted, Ciel's hand found mine, gripping it gently but firmly. Her presence alone seemed to steady me, like a quiet anchor in a storm. "Master," she said softly, her voice soothing, "don't worry about the future. Just treat her as you normally would. I'm certain that, in time, you will understand your feelings." Ren nodded at me with a sage-like air and said, almost too casually, "Don't worry about it, my lady. We have a long way to go, plenty of time for you to develop your character and fall head over heels for me." I stared at her, utterly exasperated. "Could you not treat this like a joke?" I shouted, my tone caught somewhere between disbelief and frustration. "Honestly, Here I was, trying to sort out my emotions, and she was enjoying herself. Still, despite her teasing, her words somehow managed to ease the tension in my chest. I took another slow breath, forcing a small smile. Let's not worry about the future, I said finally. Whatever happens, happens. And, I suppose I'm not entirely opposed to the idea of marrying you, so it doesn't really matter. Seeing that things had finally calmed, Shizue stepped forward toward Kat, probably about to scold her. Kat, sensing trouble, immediately ducked behind Ren. Shizue let out an exasperated sigh. Kat, didn't I tell you to make sure you don't do anything to affect the events of this time? What if the future changes because of you? Before Shizue could start her lecture in full, Ren spoke up, her voice calm and precise. Do not worry, Shizue. The future will not change. Lady Seal always has her eyes on all of you. If any of you were about to do something that might affect the timeline, she would intervene. Shinsha quickly chimed in as well, her cheerful voice carrying a hint of authority. Mama's right. Besides, future mom already told me about all of us going to the past and everything. So everything is happening just like it actually happened. Mommy knowing won't change anything, so there's no need to be angry. Hearing their words, Shizue let out a relieved sigh. If that's true, then there's no reason to scold Kat. Kat, hearing this, finally exhaled the breath she had been holding. Just as Shizue was about to step back, Ren crouched slightly in front of her, a gentle smile on her face, and patted her head. Now then, Ren said softly, since it's proven that I am my lady's wife, it also means that you and Shinsha are my daughters, correct? Shizue nodded, her face flushed crimson with embarrassment. Shinsha, not missing a beat, ran forward toward Ren, and Ren gave her a warm, affectionate head pat as well. It was a heartwarming scene. Ren's hands moved gracefully, one patting Shizue and the other Shinsha. Shizue's cheeks burned red, utterly embarrassed at the attention, while Shinsha simply giggled, completely delighted. Seeing this, all my remaining worries melted away. As long as they were happy, nothing else mattered. I smiled softly, holding Ciel's hand and giving it a gentle squeeze, feeling a warmth spread through me. We had truly found another part of our family. I didn't think I was in love with Ren just yet, but it seemed only a matter of time. As Ren finally stopped patting the girls, satisfied, I cleared my throat and said cheerfully, I think it's time for our family outing. Everyone nodded happily. Shinsha dashed toward me, grabbing my hand with uncontainable excitement. Shizue hurried to my side, still blushing, and held Ciel's hand. Kat, meanwhile, clasped Ren's hand, a small smile tugging at her lips. We were about to step toward the city center when Ren suddenly paused. Wait a moment, she said, her voice calm but carrying a hint of anticipation. She looked at Kat, holding her hand, then at her other hand. With a small crouch, she whispered something quietly into Kat's ear. As Ren spoke, Kat's smile broadened, radiating pure delight. After a brief moment, both Ren and Kat nodded to each other. Then, Kat's body began to shimmer with a gentle light. Within seconds, a new girl appeared beside her, identical in height and facial features, but with distinct differences. Her hair was silver, fading to a soft blue at the tips, in contrast to Kat's violet-tipped locks. Her eyes were heterochromatic like Kat's, but one shone pure white, and the other a deep, vibrant blue. Wait a moment, her expression looked so familiar. That soft, calm gaze, it hit me. I asked softly, Luna, is that you? She looked at me and smiled gently. Yes, I'm Luna. Luna then walked toward Ren, taking her other hand. Ren's face lit up with a rare, warm smile. Now our family is nearly complete, she said happily. Well, she wasn't wrong. We still had to figure out who would become my second wife, but that was a concern for later. Okay, everyone ready? I asked. Every one of them nodded in unison. With that, we finally began walking toward the center of the festival. Shinsha held tightly to my hand, skipping ahead with excitement. Behind me, Ciel held Shizue's hand, her usual calm presence keeping Shizue grounded. Beside them, Ren held hands with both Kat and Luna, her smile reflecting the rare contentment of a family finally reunited. The afternoon sun hung high in the sky, bathing the streets of Tempest in warm golden light. The festival was already in full swing, laughter, music, and the scent of freshly cooked food filled the air. Stalls lined the streets, their bright banners fluttering in the gentle breeze as both monsters and humans mingled together, enjoying the rare harmony that Tempest had become known for. As we entered the main street, countless eyes turned our way. I could feel the weight of every gaze, admiration, curiosity, even a hint of envy. Humans especially seemed captivated by our kimonos. I couldn't blame them. After all, Tempest-made kimono were a luxury item, woven with enchanted silk that shimmered faintly. Under the sunlight, they were rare even among nobles, and seeing several of them together must have been quite the sight. Seal, walking gracefully beside me, wore hers with quiet elegance, her mask glinting softly in the light. Ren followed close behind, holding Kat and Luna's hands, her serene composure attracting just as much attention. Shizu and Shinsha were chatting excitedly as they walked beside Seal, their laughter blending perfectly with the festival's cheerful rhythm. After wandering through the lively streets, our group eventually stopped in front of a clothing shop decorated with bright paper lanterns and elegant fabrics displayed at the entrance. The moment we stepped inside, the shopkeeper nearly froze, probably never expecting Seal and Ren, two well-known figures, to casually walk in. Still, to her credit, she quickly regained her composure and greeted us with a respectful bow. "Welcome, esteemed guests. Please, feel free to look around." The store was filled with rows of fine clothing, from elegant dresses and robes to casual festival outfits. Naturally, chaos soon followed as everyone began picking outfits for each other. Shinsha immediately grabbed a frilly pink dress and turned toward her sister. "Mummy, look, Shizu would look super cute in this." Before Shizu could react, Kat and Luna chimed in, nodding eagerly. Yes, it suits her perfectly." Shizu's expression froze. Wait, hold on. But it was too late. Within moments, the poor girl was surrounded. Ren, ever the composed one, offered a polite smile as she held up matching ribbons. "I must agree, it would complement your eyes, Shizu." Even Seal, who usually stayed quiet in such moments, simply said, "Master would certainly be pleased." And so, Shizu found herself dressed in an adorably cute outfit, a short pastel skirt with lace trim and a soft white blouse decorated with tiny bows. Her cheeks flushed crimson as everyone admired her. "Why, you're all enjoying this too much," she muttered, glaring lightly at her sisters, but the corner of her lips twitched into a reluctant smile. I couldn't help but laugh softly. "You look wonderful, Shizu." "Really?" Her blush deepened. "Don't tease me, mother." "Tease? I'm being honest," I replied with a grin. The shopkeeper, meanwhile, looked like she'd just witnessed the most wholesome chaos of her career. Once Shizu had finally accepted her fate and allowed herself to be admired by her giggling sisters, the next target was, inevitably, me. "Mummy's turn," Shinsha declared proudly, puffing her chest. I blinked. "My turn." Kat grinned like she'd been waiting for this. "Of course, you helped us all choose, it's only fair we pick something for you too, right?" Ciel's lips curved ever so slightly behind her mask. "Indeed, master. I am curious to see what they will choose." Even Ren's eyes gleamed with faint amusement. "Allow me to assist, my lady." "Et tu, Ren," I sighed gracefully, though I couldn't hide the soft laugh escaping me. Within moments, chaos resumed. The girls darted between racks and displays, comparing colors, fabrics, and styles. Shinsha came back first, holding a vibrant sky blue yukata patterned with delicate golden lotus flowers. "This one, it matches your hair perfectly." Kat, however, countered immediately, presenting a deep crimson dress with layered silk and gold embroidery. No, this one. It'll make you look super elegant." Luna, calm and thoughtful as always, picked something different, a flowing white and blue hanfu style outfit that shimmered under the light. "This one feels like you, mommy. Graceful, but powerful." Even Shizu shyly added, I think that one suits you best." Ren smiled softly, taking the hanfu from Luna's hands. "Then it's decided." Seal tilted her head slightly, eyes on me. "Shall I assist you in changing, master?" A tiny laugh escaped me. "That won't be necessary, Seal." After a quick change, I stepped out of the dressing room, and immediately the whole shop seemed to still. The flowing fabric caught the soft afternoon light beautifully, and faint runes shimmered like water across the hem. Shinsha gasped, "Mummy, you look amazing." Ren bowed gracefully, her voice warm with quiet pride. "You look radiant, my lady." Even Ciel's calm composure wavered for a second, her crimson eyes behind the mask glowing faintly as she murmured, "Beautiful." Feeling their eyes on me, I chuckled softly. "You're all far too kind. But I suppose, it's not bad." Shizu, still red-faced in her cute clothes, muttered, "Now you know how it feels when everyone stares at you." I smiled at her teasing tone and gently patted her head. "I am used to it." By the time everyone had finally decided on their outfits, the sun had already begun to set, painting the sky in soft hues of gold and violet. The gentle glow of lanterns lit the streets as the festival reached its lively peak. Music, laughter, and the faint aroma of roasted food drifted through the air. The crowd had grown even larger, monsters and humans mingling freely, smiles everywhere. Wow, Shinsha's eyes sparkled as she looked around, clutching my hand tightly. It's so pretty, Mummy. I smiled softly. It really is. Seal walked beside me, her posture still regal even amidst the noise. Master, the decorations this year are quite impressive. Tempest's artisans have outdone themselves. Ren, walking on my other side with Luna and Cat beside her, added with a small smirk, the food stalls are even more impressive. I can already smell the grilled skewers. Cat's eyes lit up. Let's go there first. Before I could even respond, the younger girls were already pulling us toward the food stalls, their excitement infectious. Their first stop was a cotton candy stand. A cheerful lizardman vendor spun up soft pink clouds of sugar for the crowd. Shizue hesitated when offered one, but Cat's expectant smile left her no choice. It's really good, she murmured, cheeks adorably puffed as she nibbled on the sugary treat. Next came sweet dango skewers, tempura, and fruit slices dipped in honey syrup. Seal, of course, preferred elegant restraint, taking small, polite bites. Ren, however, had no such reservations. She sampled nearly everything the girls offered, maintaining her usual composed face despite clearly enjoying it. Ren, that's your fifth skewer, I said, giving her a gently teasing look. She bowed her head slightly, eyes gleaming with amusement. Forgive me, my lady. I was ensuring the food's safety. I sighed gracefully. How very noble of you. Cat chuckled softly. Mama is just pretending she's not a foodie. That earned her a quiet ahem from Ren, and a giggle from the rest of us. As night deepened, the streets glowed under rows of paper lanterns. The children chased each other around. Watching them, I felt warmth bloom in my chest. My hand brushed against Ciel's. She immediately entwined her fingers with mine, her crimson eyes turning toward me softly. They look happy, she said quietly. They do, I replied, smiling. It's peaceful. I'd like moments like this to last. Ren glanced back at us, her voice calm and gentle. Then let's make sure they do, my lady. For a moment, the music, the laughter, and the light all seemed to blend into one perfect memory, a warm evening under Tempest's lanterns, our strange little family simply enjoying being together. After trying nearly every food stall in sight, Cat spotted a colorful game booth down the street and tugged at Ren's sleeve. Let's go there next. It looks fun. The stand was bright with paper lanterns and colorful prizes, stuffed animals, toy swords, trinkets, and tiny magical crystals that shimmered faintly. Ring toss, I mused. Simple enough. Cat was already bouncing on her toes. I wanna try first. The vendor, a goblin with a friendly grin, handed her a set of rings. Cat aimed carefully, tongue peeking out in concentration, then tossed 3 perfect hits in a row. Wow, Shinsha clapped excitedly. Cat is amazing. Cat puffed her chest proudly. Hey, of course, I'm the best. Then Ren stepped forward. Allow me, she said smoothly, her calm confidence almost unfair. She flicked her wrist, every ring landed perfectly. The vendor blinked. And we have a new champion. I raised an elegant brow. Ren, are you showing off? Ren smiled faintly. Just setting a good example for our daughters, my lady. That earned her a chorus of giggles, and my very graceful sigh. Next was the goldfish scooping game. The shallow pool shimmered under the lantern light, filled with tiny fish that resembled the goldfish seen at Japanese festivals. Shizue knelt gracefully, a look of quiet determination in her eyes as she held the fragile paper scoop. Easy, she whispered, focused completely, only for the fish to dart away the instant she moved. Her paper broke clean through. Shizue froze, a single twitch forming on her forehead. Shinsha giggled behind her. Big sis, you scared it. Quote. It startled me first, Shizue muttered, trying again with stubborn dignity. Meanwhile, Luna and Cat were in fierce competition. Luna managed to catch 2 glowing fish, while Cat pouted after her third paper scoop ripped apart. Mama, help me. Ren chuckled softly, knelt beside her, and effortlessly caught one with a single smooth motion. Like this. Cat's eyes sparkled. You're the best, Mama. Seal watched quietly beside me, her masked face tilted slightly toward the game. Master, should we try as well? I tapped my chin. I suppose I can't let them have all the fun. With thought acceleration and a touch of finesse, I caught 3 fish in one motion, neatly and gracefully, of course. The vendor looked both impressed and mildly terrified. Seal followed suit and, unsurprisingly, matched me exactly, the same number, the same smooth technique. We exchanged a knowing smile. Draw again, master, she said softly. Indeed, I replied, amused. By the time they finished, the girls were beaming, showing off their tiny glowing treasures. Kat had pinned a sparkling brooch in her hair, while Shinsha insisted her prize be christened, Bubbles, bouncing with delight as she held it up. As we moved on to the next game, a knife-throwing gallery filled with toy prizes, laughter and teasing filled the air again. Ren's steady aim earned her a large plush toy, which she handed to Kat with a faint smile. Seal, on the other hand, won a small crystal charm that glowed faintly, and quietly slipped it into my hand. For luck, she said. I smiled softly, fingers brushing hers. Thank you, Seal. The evening air was filled with laughter, music, and the shimmer of lantern light, and as I looked around, at my family smiling, playing, and laughing together, I couldn't help but feel a deep warmth in my chest. It was one of those moments I wished could last forever. As we strolled through the festival, a small commotion caught my eye at a takoyaki stall. Lumi, her silver hair gleaming against the silk of an exquisite kimono, glared down at the stall's proprietor, Veldora, her voice sharp with indignation. Your takoyaki burned my mouth, Lumi declared, holding up a perfectly normal piece for emphasis. I should sue you. Veldora waved his hands frantically. What? Don't lie to me. Vampires don't burn from this kind of heat. His voice wavered between indignation and panic. Also, please, don't sue me. Nearby, I couldn't help but suppress a chuckle. It was immediately clear that the Lumi was exaggerating for effect, and Veldora's panicked reactions only made the scene funnier. Kat and Shinsha leaned forward, giggling quietly at the absurdity of the scene, while Shizu's lips curved into the faintest smirk, clearly trying to maintain composure. Luna's soft hum of amusement could barely be contained. I couldn't help but chuckle softly, my elegant giggle catching the attention of the girls. It appears Lumi is exaggerating, I said, brushing my hair back, though my eyes sparkled with amusement at the spectacle. Luminous, of course, was undeterred. You don't understand. This is a matter of principle. I could have been seriously injured. Veldora flailed dramatically, nearly dropping the tray of takoyaki. I swear, every batch I've ever made has been fine. It's completely normal. But Lumi, having none of it, continued to threaten Veldora with a lawsuit, her glare unwavering. Veldora groaned audibly, his voice now near whispered, almost begging. I'll give you another one for free. Please don't sue me. But Luminous was not placated. She tapped her chin with a delicate finger, eyes narrowing. A replacement takoyaki, you say? Very well, but if this one burns me again, she paused dramatically, letting the threat linger, you will face the full extent of my wrath. Veldora nodded frantically, already preparing another batch with trembling hands. I understand. I'll make sure it's completely safe. Luminous took the freshly prepared takoyaki, examined it as if it were an artifact, and carefully blew on it once. Then, in the most exaggeratedly graceful manner possible, she popped it into her mouth. A blissful sigh escaped her lips. Acceptable, she declared, wiping her mouth delicately with a napkin. Veldora sagged, relief flooding his face. Acceptable, that's it. You didn't even. Luminous's eyes sparkled mischievously as she cut him off. I'll admit, it's edible. But do not let this happen again. The girls all laughed quietly, enjoying the show, while Seal merely shook her head, lips pressed into a thin line. That bloodsucker, I don't think she even cares about the food anymore, she muttered. And indeed, Luminous had already moved on, scanning the crowd with a sharp gaze, as if the entire festival were now her stage. Veldora, meanwhile, slumped behind his stall, muttering prayers under his breath. The kids dashed to the stall, their excitement practically vibrating in the air as they placed their orders. Veldora's previous gloom vanished instantly, replaced by a triumphant grin that stretched from ear to ear. Gah ha 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 ha. It's my nieces, he boomed, clapping his hands together. I will make the greatest takoyaki for you. With theatrical flair, he flipped the little balls with precision, sending them into waiting plates as the children squealed with delight. Shinsha and Kat cheered loudly, clapping their hands as if Veldora were performing on stage. Shizu, cheeks tinted with amusement, gave a small smile and shook her head at their antics. Not stopping at the kids, Veldora prepared extra for me, Seal, and Ren. As he presented our portions, he puffed out his chest dramatically. And now, I expect praise for my culinary genius. Shinsha bounced on her toes, grabbing my hand. Uncle Veldora, it's amazing, thank you. Cat took a bite and grinned. It's delicious. Uncle Veldora, you're the best. Even Shizu, trying to maintain her composed demeanor, allowed a small chuckle. Seal arched an eyebrow, her lips twitching with a barely restrained smile. Indeed, it's quite good, she said, a subtle sparkle of amusement in her eyes. Ren, standing, with her usual calm, tilted her head and offered a polite nod. Exquisite, as expected, she said, but her slight smile betrayed her enjoyment. Veldora puffed his chest even higher, hands on hips, and beamed. See, I told you, praiseworthy of a master chef. The kids laughed, clapped, and scrambled to tell him exactly how wonderful his takoyaki was, while I chuckled softly, watching the joyful chaos unfold. After we finished eating, I reached into my sleeve and produced a few gold coins. He might be my brother, but at the moment, he was the proud proprietor of this little business, so it was only proper to pay him for his work. However, before I could even place the coins on the counter, Veldora waved his hands dramatically, laughing his signature booming laugh. Gah ha ha ha, nonsense. It's on the house for my adorable nieces. He declared, puffing out his chest with exaggerated pride. You insult me by trying to pay. I sighed softly, though a faint smile touched my lips. Honestly, the kids burst into giggles and, before I could stop them, ran forward to hug him. Veldora froze for a moment, then laughed even louder, scooping them up in his arms like a proud uncle showing off his greatest treasure. Watching them, I couldn't help but chuckle quietly. There was no winning against him when he was like this. I finally tucked the coins back into my sleeve and said, very well. I'll consider this your treat for today. He laughed again, triumphant, as the children cheered. I could only shake my head and smile in defeat. After the kids had finished showering Veldora with praise about how delicious his takoyaki was, we decided to continue exploring the festival. The cheerful bustle of the streets carried us along until we stopped in front of a shaved ice stall. The colorful mounds of ice sparkled under the lantern light, and everyone eagerly picked their favorite flavors. Once we were done eating, Ren suddenly stiffened beside me, her tone urgent. My lady, Cat's missing. I blinked, utterly calm. Don't worry, she'll be fine, Shinsha chimed in cheerfully, licking the last of her syrup from the spoon. Yeah, Cat's super strong. Luna added dryly, she's probably off causing some chaos somewhere. Shizu sighed, nodding with perfect seriousness. True, we'll find her easily, just wait for some kind of commotion. Luna nodded again, completely agreeing. Ren looked around helplessly before letting out an exasperated sigh. I know she's strong, but could you at least pretend to be worried? She muttered, clearly frustrated. Then, crossing her arms and pouting, she added, and stop assuming she's causing chaos. You're all being very mean. Moments later a distant boom echoed through the air, followed by a brief pillar of fire rising above the rooftops. The crowd around us gasped, people shouting in alarm. There it is, Shizu murmured, resigned. I pressed a hand to my temple, suppressing a sigh. Luna pointed toward the source of the noise. That way. As we hurried closer, the street opened into a small square where a sizable crowd had already gathered. And in the center, standing proudly amidst the scorch marks and faint smoke, was Cat. She was smiling in satisfaction, hands on her hips, while two unfortunate men lay nearby, singed and unconscious, with steam rising from their clothes. Shizu froze mid-step, eyes wide in horror. Cat, what did you do? Cat turned to her, blinking innocently. They were rude to me. So I made them less rude. I sighed, rubbing my temples again. Somehow, I knew it would be something like that. Shizu sighed and stepped forward. Cat, why did you do that? She asked, trying to keep her tone steady. Cat blinked, putting on an innocent expression. They tried to kidnap me, so I fought back. That's totally fine, right? I ran out of words and looked at Ren for backup. She met my eyes, gave a single serious nod, then moved to Cat and crouched to her level. Cat, Ren said in that cool, scolding voice of hers, you can't just burn people like that. Her eyes flashed, suddenly sharp. You make them go, poof. Hearing that, Cat's confident mask cracked. She gasped, as if suddenly realizing her mistake. I facepalmed, desperately wondering why I'd expected anything else. Seal, who had been watching quietly, inclined her head once and spoke in a tone both deadpan and oddly amused. No, you can't just make them go poof. You must make them regret it properly. Her tone suggested she meant business. Luna and Shizu echoed my exhausted sigh, while even Shinsha copied my gesture with a bright smile, mimicking my face palm as if it were the latest game. Ciel's dry suggestion, that the men should be made to suffer for their crimes, was met with a curt nod from Ultima as she arrived with a pair of guards. Before I could process the arrival, Carrera followed, eyes narrowed and her own presence adding weight to the small crowd. Ren and Kat were already locked in their tiny conspiracy. Ren favored the efficient solution, poof, while Kat, who took everything with earnest seriousness, nodded as if both options were equally valid. When Carrera, having been told what poof meant, found the idea disturbingly great, she sided with Ren, if they must vanish so no further harm comes to others. Ultima, though, was all for Ciel's take. They must be made to regret it, she said bluntly. Deterrence is the point. And so the debate inflated, from a tidy little scolding to a five-way council on criminal justice, Ciel and Ultima arguing for proper torture, Ren and Carrera advocating immediate erasure, Kat solemnly approving both sides, and poor Luna and Shizu watching with wide eyes. I let them run in circles for a moment longer, then stepped in. Guards, I called, my voice calm but carrying the authority they all knew. Calm the crowd and clear a path. The soldiers moved at once, forming a cordon and guiding murmuring onlookers back. I turned to the vendors and townsfolk, addressing them with a warm, steady tone. There's no need for an alarm. These were common criminals, we will see to it. Please return to your stalls and enjoy the festival. With the crowd beginning to disperse, I ordered the guards to apprehend the two men and bring them to the holding cells for questioning. They complied, hauling the already singed pair to their feet and moving them away under cautious escort. Only then did I allow my attention to drift back to the still ongoing debate, which had somehow become even louder now that the audience had thinned. They argued with the intense earnestness of people debating which of two desserts was superior, except this time the subject was culpability, retribution, and the ethics of making people go poof. I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. The festival was supposed to be peaceful tonight, and yet here I was, refereeing a parliamentary-level quarrel over whether criminals should be erased or properly tortured. At least the guards were handling the practicalities. The rest, I decided, could wait until after the festival. When Carrera spoke, his voice was cold and hard. They attempted to kidnap Lady Rimuru's daughter. They should be eliminated at once, those scum have no right to live. Ren listened, then gave a measured nod of agreement. Ultima's reply was blunt and surgical. Their crime is grievous. Precisely because of that, they must be made to properly regret it, through punishment that deters others. Ciel inclined her head in assent, her expression unreadable but firm. The debate ground on with no clear winner, each side eloquently defending its stance, yet neither willing to concede an inch. Then Kat suddenly piped up, eyes bright as if struck by inspiration. Instead of arguing, she announced, practically beaming, why don't we do both? She clapped her hands together. We can torture them first, and then make them go poof afterwards. For a beat, everyone stared. Then, almost absurdly, one by one they began to nod, slowly at first, then with growing enthusiasm, accepting Kat's compromise with the same grave seriousness they'd brought to the debate. And just like that, the argument dissolved into unanimous agreement, Kat's absurd compromise accepted with all the solemnity of a council decree. Laughter bubbled up in spite of everything, and we resumed enjoying the festival, more games, sweeter treats, and lantern light that made even ordinary moments feel small and precious. When night finally settled, we headed home together, tired, messy, and perfectly satisfied. To be continued.